They call me Jenny. And what I'm about to share isn't just a story. It's a warning. Ready? Let's begin. Some rides don't take you home. They take you somewhere else. Somewhere colder. Somewhere hungrier. And sometimes they don't even ask for a fare. Only a favor. I met a taxi driver like that. And now I know he wasn't a man. He wasn't even something you could name. It was like I'd never left. My old restaurant. Same burnt coffee smell. Same scuffed tile by the till. But something felt off the moment I said I needed a cab. Strange. King's taxis aren't answering, I muttered. They went under, the manager said, handing me a jar stuffed with dusty business cards. Try one of these. I picked the least tattered and dialed. 10 minutes later, I stepped into the night air, my breath curling in front of me like a question. A long silver-gray sedan rolled in. Old. Quiet. Too quiet. No name confirmation. No small talk. Just a slow pull away from the curb. I sat behind the passenger seat, letting the hum of the engine lull me. Barns and shadowy houses blurred past outside the window. Good shift? The driver asked suddenly. His voice, it didn't match the car. Or this world. It changed mid-sentence. Like multiple voices trying to speak at once. Yeah, thanks. Busy? Not really. He took a turn. The wrong one. You missed the left. This way is better, he said with that drifting, placeless accent. I checked the rearview mirror. Eyes, black. Sockets deep as caves. He stared until I looked, then glanced back at the road. And just below the seat back, a movement. In the dim, I saw pale white fingers, worming from the gap between the backrest and cushion. Not attached to any hand. Just twitching, wriggling. Like something dead. Here she is, our sleeping beauty, my stepmom chirped the next morning, pouring coffee over my dad's newspaper. He barely blinked. My stepmom giggled, cleavage front and center. But Dad didn't budge from his article on carbon emissions. He was always like that, unshakable, unreadable. Is it still morning? She smirked. Only just, I muttered, reaching for a cereal bowl. What are you doing? She asked. Not what cereal, not can I have some, just that. That's how she played. Always framing things like I was the one on trial. She'd poke and prod until I'd ask permission to breathe. Not today. I grabbed a handful of Frosties and launched them right at her smug face. The flakes stuck to her lip gloss. I left. No explanation. No permission. Saturday was hell. 9 hours straight. Lunch rush. Wedding reception. Screaming kids. Spilled drinks. Tip jars full of pennies. All I wanted was bed. The manager warned the same cab company had a monopoly now. What are the odds it's the same guy? I told myself as I hit redial. Then the gray sedan pulled in. Same driver. Same smirk. It's you, he said like we were friends. Did you have a good shift? Busier, I mumbled. Busyness is good. Keeps the mind from wandering. Who says my mind is troubled? Everyone has troubles. The car crept up the same dark lane. Tires crunching frost. Trees crowding the road like nosy onlookers. What does she do that bothers you so? He asked, eyes locked to mine in the mirror. Had I said that out loud? I vented. I told him everything. How my stepmom treated me like a rival. How she used my dad like a trophy in a one-woman war. She needs a fright, the driver said, his voice suddenly low and wet. If you scream loud enough, she might listen. He took the same wrong turn. I was ready to correct him, until he turned his head. All the way around. His ears folded inward. His eyes sank into pits. New mouths bubbled up where features had been. Look out! I screamed. Still eyeless, he drove perfectly, circling the roundabout. Once. Twice. 3 times. His real mouth stretched unnaturally wide. A tongue slapped against the steering wheel like a slab of meat. You have my advice, he said, then just dropped me off. I didn't sleep, but I must have blacked out, because the knock on my door felt like it came from underwater. It was Dad. About the Frosties, he said. I'll apologize. Good. He looked like he'd aged 10 years overnight. Downstairs she sat knitting something. A frog? A crocodile? Sorry about yesterday, I said. She sniffed. If you were sorry, you wouldn't have done it. I clenched my fists. Every bone in me screamed to fight back. But then I remembered the taxi driver's words, and that his face had turned into mouth. Don't take advice from a monster, I told myself and walked away. The restaurant was chaos. Babies crying, forks clattering. Someone spilled soup down my apron. And every time a child screamed, I flinched. I told coworkers I was tired, left out the part where a nightmare cabbie had transformed into a creature made of mouths. I booked a different taxi this time, a red minivan with a kindly Sikh man behind the wheel. You're safe now, I told myself. Halfway up the hill something moved. Not outside, not under the car. In the seat, a white skeletal hand slithered up the driver's back. It oozed under his collar, flattened like a fungus. Something's on you, I whispered. He scratched his neck. Then it bit. He screamed. Flesh melted. His face imploded. His limbs jerked like marionette strings. The thing that turned toward me wasn't him anymore. It was the taxi man again, only now worse. Did you shout? A mouth screamed from where his ear had been. Did you frighten her? No. I sobbed. Why not? Asked the mouth on his forehead. Why not? Asked all the others, each word a whip crack in the dark. He spun the minivan around the roundabout. Faster. Faster. The van tilted. Tires screeched. My dad loves her. You didn't take my advice. Let me out. His limbs spasmed. He slammed the wheel. Doors flung open and shut. I jumped. Gravel tore my hands. Nettles clawed at my legs. I sprinted through back alleys, through brush and bramble. When I burst through the front door, my lungs on fire. She was waiting, arms folded, face blank. I'm not even going to ask, she said, and turned away. Now every time I think about a cab, I gag. I can't walk home alone, not 3 miles in the dark. But calling a cab feels like offering a piece of myself to something that remembers me, wants me to scream. I never took his advice, but sometimes when I close my eyes, I hear him, circling the roundabout, waiting. Some faces on the roadside become part of your routine, just background static to a life that's too busy to care. But one day, you look a little longer, and sometimes, they look back. That's where I made my mistake. The school bus rattled along the cracked asphalt, a roaring metal cage of teenage noise and bad music. Outside, the sky was slate gray. The air was brittle. Look at this guy, what a loser, Brody snorted, pressing a greasy forehead to the glass. We passed him again. The homeless man on the side of Route 9. Same cardboard sign. Same spot. Please help scrawled in black marker. He didn't even flinch as the wind battered his coat. Is he really as bad as they say? I asked, squinting at the figure. Oh yeah, Brody said, his breath fogging the window. Killed 2 girls. Out of state. With an axe. You serious? Leon chimed in from my right, wiry arms crossed. 3. They were triplets. That's what I heard. No, dumbass, it was 2. Definitely 2. Then how were they triplets, genius? Trish's voice cut in, sudden and sharp from the seat ahead. They weren't triplets. 3 girls, 3 different families. My mom said so. It spiraled into an argument. Names, rumors, horror stories passed like candy. Guys, none of that matters, I said. I'm just saying. I haven't seen any real proof. What if we're all just wrong? Trisha glared. Well, my mom said stay away from him. And I suggest you twerps do the same. Everyone quieted. But something about that man. The way he stood there in the cold, not begging, just waiting. It stayed with me. After school, he wasn't at his usual spot. I told Mom I was going to the park with my friends, then jumped on my bike and pedaled hard toward the edge of town. Through the trees behind the brush I spotted it. A crooked tent pitched like a collapsed lung. A single lantern glowed dimly from within. I stepped through the clearing. Hello. A scuffle. The shadow inside the tent stirred. The flap peeled open. Oh, forgive me. An old man emerged, tall, hunched, wrapped in threadbare layers. His voice was warm, but his eyes were searching. You caught me off guard, son. What are you doing out here? This isn't a prank, is it? No. I just saw your sign. Thought maybe you needed help. He tilted his head, surprised. Kind of you, he said. Most don't even look. But I've seen you. You sit in the back row, don't you? On that bus. I nodded. My friends are scared of you, I said. They say things. But that stuff's not true, right? He chuckled, a low, gravelly sound. No. People talk. But I haven't heard a soul. I swear it. I almost believed him. We sat together on a rotted log by his tent. The air smelled like wet dirt and old ash. Before I send you to the store, he said, leaning close, I need to ask, are you a good boy? I blinked. I guess. Do you stand up to bullies? Do your homework? Help your mom? I shrugged. Yeah, I try. Good, he said quickly. Good. Then he stood, almost excited, and shuffled into the tent. I'll get a list. Won't take a moment. I glanced inside the tent. Dust. Blankets. A crate filled with clutter. He knocked something over. A stack of photos spilled onto the ground. One slid toward me. 3 girls. White dresses. Lying on a floor. Eyes wide open. Staring. Triplets. I stood up. The man turned. Where are you going? I pointed. That photo. Those girls. You lied. He stepped out, sorrow in his face. Don't be like that. I can explain. He moved slowly. Then suddenly, he swung. I never saw the brick. Only the weight of it. When I woke up, everything felt wrong. Sky above me. Branches swaying. My limbs. Gone. I couldn't move. Couldn't scream. Only my eyes worked. He stood over me. But not as the old man anymore. Younger. Stronger. Hair slicked back. Leather jacket studded with metal. Eyes like broken glass. He crouched. Let me explain, he said again, like a teacher repeating a lesson. You've been repurposed. I've taken your life force, well, most of it. Left you with the essentials. A heartbeat. A brain. But no movement. You're alive, technically. But you'll never speak again. Never scream. Never tell a soul. He took out a Polaroid camera. Click. The flash burst white in my face. He shook the photograph, watching it develop. See? You're already part of the story. Like the others. The good news, he said, slinging a rucksack over his back. You're near the highway. Someone'll find you. Might take a few days, but you'll live. He leaned close one last time. Sayonara. And then he walked away. Past the trees. Out of frame. Locked-in syndrome. That's what the doctors call it. I can see. I can hear. I can think. But I cannot move. Not even blink on command. They say I was found by a jogger barely breathing. I spent months in the hospital. Years even. I don't know how much time passed. But technology caught up. Now I write with my eyes. Letter by letter. Word by word. This account is the first thing I've typed. The nurses left the laptop camera on. I think they forgot. I don't know what he is. Not a man. Not anymore. He changes faces. Identities. But he always leaves behind the same thing. A rumor. A legend. A warning parents whisper to kids. Stay away from the man on the roadside. Stay away from the one with the cardboard sign. The old photograph. The one I saw on the ground. I dream about it now. 3 girls staring upward. Frozen. Silent. Forgotten. And in the corner of the frame, barely visible, a 4th figure. A shadow. Watching. And next time someone offers to help that man, it'll be 4. They say monsters live under beds. In closets. In woods. But the worst ones, they live among us. Wearing faces that don't belong to them. And waiting for someone to ask the wrong question. Like I did. Be safe. You ever love your job so much, you forget what it's costing you? They say if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. That's not true. Not for me. I don't love what I do. Not exactly. But I was made for it. Crafted somewhere in the margins of this world. For a job no one talks about. No shifts. No coffee breaks. No PTO. No application. The job finds you. And the first thing they tell you. The first thing. is never tell anyone, not your spouse, not your priest, not even yourself, if you can help it. But I can't help it anymore. The weight is leaking through. The screams are still ringing. And tonight, I need you to know, the world has its janitors, and then it has me. I clean up after the things you weren't supposed to see. Disappearances no one can explain. Families that vanish mid-meal, food still steaming, doors unlocked. Or hikers found days later with skin like paper and faces stretched in screams they never finished. That's when the call comes. Only, there's no ringtone, no voice, just a black book. And my job begins. You don't buy the tools I use. You're given them. A vacuum that sucks up trauma like dust. Solvents that eat bone and memory alike. Gloves that have never ever stained. Then there's the black book. Always waiting. On my kitchen table. Silent. Heavy. Smells like wet dirt. And ozone. Each page. A name. A location. And rules. Follow the rules. Or die. A cabin in Oregon. No roads. No map. The black book said, do not look in the mirrors. Or remove the nursery wallpaper before dusk. If you hear crying from under the floorboards, leave. Immediately. I followed them. Mostly. I slipped. Caught my reflection in the foyer mirror. It looked like me. But the smile was someone else's. Too wide. Too many teeth. I threw a blanket over it. Didn't sleep for 3 days. Still, I cleaned the place. By morning there was nothing left. Just fog and dirt. Some jobs don't want to be remembered. Last year they sent me to burn down a hotel. One problem, it didn't exist. The black book warned me. Each room you enter will give you memories you never lived. Burn it before you forget who you are. By the time I lit the final match, I believed I had a wife named Clara and a baby girl named June. I think. Worst job I ever took? A basement in Kansas. Concrete. Chains. Blood like syrup caked on the floor. Black book said only, it is still hungry. Do not feed it anything you love. I dropped my wallet. Didn't notice until I was back in the car. Hands shaking. My sister's photo was gone. In its place, a scrap of flesh. Still beating. Some homes breathe. Some whisper. There was one where clocks ticked backward, and the walls inhaled when you exhaled. I was told, remove everything that smells like lavender. Do not ask why. I didn't ask, but that didn't stop the smell. It poured through vents, seeped into my gloves. When I left, the scent followed me for days. I tore up my own floors. Found nothing, but I swear something was still under there. I made a mistake. One morning, I left a note in the black book. Who are you? The next morning, I woke up with a message carved into my arm. My own handwriting. Cleaner, clean thyself. I bled for hours. I've seen a man aged 60 years and 60 seconds. A girl who cast 2 shadows. One of them blinked. A staircase that led upward forever. But the scariest thing? None of it surprises me anymore. This morning, no black book. First time in over a decade. Instead, there was an envelope. My name, written in red ink. No return address. Inside was a photo of me, sleeping. On the back, just one line. Do not run. We already know where you'll go. I have a very special job, but I think the job just turned around. I'm not the cleaner anymore. I'm the mess. And this time, no one's coming. Not to save me. Not to clean me up. I think I just became the next entry in someone else's black book. Somewhere beneath your skin, something else might be living, and the people who love you most might be the first to know. For the past week, my mom's been off, not in any obvious way. She still makes her black coffee at 6:03 a.m. sharp, still fusses over her roses in the backyard like she's keeping them alive with sheer will, still calls me sweetheart, still leaves me post-its on the fridge with reminders to eat, hydrate, sleep. But she won't meet my eyes. Not for more than a second. Last night I felt something crawl across the back of my neck while I was scrolling on the couch. That cold hot prickle when you know you're being watched. I looked up and saw her, standing stiff in the hallway. But it wasn't her. Not like I remembered. Her eyes were too wide, like she was studying a stranger through the mirror's reflection. When I met her stare, she froze. Then came the smile, too quick, too tight. "You okay, honey?" I nodded. She disappeared around the corner without a sound. But I know what I saw. She was watching me. This morning she left me toast. Same place, same plate. But no butter. No jelly. No napkin. Just dry. Like someone following a routine without knowing why. "Mom," I asked softly, "everything okay?" She didn't answer right away. Just stood there, coffee mug gripped like a weapon. "Of course," she said. "Why wouldn't it be? You seem distant lately." Her eyes locked on mine just long enough to burn. Then she whispered, "Sometimes people change, and sometimes they think no one will notice." I forced a laugh, but my chest felt hollow. I didn't touch the toast. She started locking her bedroom door at night. She never used to. And last night, I swear I heard her whispering, muffled words, rapid, desperate, like prayers or warnings. I leaned close, breath barely audible, then silence, followed by the click of a lock. This morning I found her hunched over old photo albums in the living room. She didn't flinch when I walked in, didn't even blink. "Looking for something?" I asked. She was staring at a birthday picture, me grinning, frosting on my chin, but her hands were trembling. "You used to have a mole," she said quietly. "What?" She pointed. "On your left cheek. Right there." I touched my cheek. "I guess it faded?" Her lips pressed together. "Moles don't fade." The air went heavy. I said nothing. I couldn't. Later that night I walked past her room. The door was slightly ajar. And I saw it. A knife tucked under her pillow. Her back was turned, her body stiff. But her fingers, they were curled tight around the blanket, like she was bracing for something, bracing for me. Lately my dreams have changed. I wake up drenched in sweat, heart pounding, but I don't remember the fear. I remember details. Damp soil, wet leaves sticking to my bare feet, the smell of smoke, acrid burning, and a face, my face, eyes wide, terrified. As I reach toward him, as I step into his skin, I try to brush it off, tell myself it's stress. I've always been a little weird, a little spacey, but now, I catch myself staring at my hands too long, examining the lines, the creases, like I'm looking at something borrowed. What am I? Am I really who I am? Sometimes I forget what my voice sounds like. Sometimes I mouth words in the mirror just to check they still fit. Last night, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror. Bright light. Silent house. I studied myself. Every detail. Every flaw. And then I saw it. All the imperfections. All the little mistakes. The eye that's slightly wrong. The scar I don't remember getting. The way my jaw doesn't quite move right when I smile. I saw what she sees. This morning, I caught her in the hallway. Just standing. Watching me again. Not moving. Not blinking. Like she was waiting for me to slip, to say something I shouldn't know, to move in a way her real son wouldn't. "Sweetheart," she said, voice tight. "Yeah," I whispered. She didn't say anything, just nodded, and stepped out of my way. But her hand brushed the wall behind her, searching for support. I had a dream last night, or maybe it was a memory. There was a cabin, firelight flickering, smoke curling toward the rafters. Something screaming in the dark woods. And him, me, tied to a chair, mouth gagged, eyes pleading, begging, as I knelt beside him and whispered, "Don't worry, you'll be safe inside me." Tonight I stood outside her room, door cracked open. She was praying again, but this time I listened closer. She wasn't asking for protection. She was asking for proof. "Please," she whispered, "let him slip. Let him make a mistake. Let me be sure." I should have walked away, but I pushed the door open. She turned wide-eyed, clutching the knife, tears streaming down her face. "You're not my son," she whispered. I didn't answer, because I don't know if she's wrong, or if she's the only one who remembers what I did to become him, and worse, what else might still be inside me. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling horror tales. Your support keeps the darkness alive.